So we're here then for another F1 My Team episode, and this one is quite a big one, and we've got an update on the driver stats, as you guys may have seen on Twitter. As always, a bit of controversy was, held in the comments, but still, it's going to mean a few changes to some driver performances, and hopefully, I know in this one, Verstappen does go down a little bit to a 93 rating, so yeah, before we jump into it, if you guys are new to the channel, then consider subscribing, and also I'll leave the previous episode linked in the top right. But today, this weekend, it's the Japanese Grand Prix, and I thought to myself, why not run a tribute slash special one-off race livery? So we've got rid of the blue and we're running the red and white in the Japanese flag colours to pay tribute to Honda, of course, our engine supplier. So yeah, really nice livery, big fan of it, I think, and I can't wait to see it on track. And I think it looks quite decent actually. It's a very, very tasty livery, well balanced, and I do like the red on the nose. So yeah, give me your thoughts in the comments down below for this special one race livery for Japan, and yeah, we can now jump into the race weekend. So first of all, updates. We are now the second best team once again. We've re-overtaken Mercedes and we've closed the gap to Red Bull. Ferrari also bringing some pretty strong upgrades, as we have a minor aerodynamic upgrade on the way coming very soon. Now with that said, we jump into qualifying this weekend, because we went through practice again. We've done the quick practice, scored about 200 points, nothing special, and yeah, we're going to jump into the qualifying session, which I did on 106% AI. Again, we're going to go for 108 in the race. So yeah, you join me at the end of my first push lap in qualifying, and to be fair, I will admit I seem to have sussed out the brakes a little bit now. It doesn't feel great, but I'm now running 85% brake pressure instead of the 100%, which is what I usually use, and that does seem to stop the lockups mostly. But yeah, across the line we go P10 ahead of Vettel and Ocon, and that lap was actually enough to get us into Q2. It's a pretty common thing now, but usually the bottom six are always both Alphas, both Williams and both Haas. The exception this time was Peter Gasly, who actually DNF'd in Q1, so he's starting from the back of the grid. Now, we move into Q2, and we're going to have two fresh sets of soft tyres for this one. Currently at the end of my first lap here, with 1 minute 8.7 in the middle sector, making our way into the Casio Triangle, the final chicane, making sure we don't ruin the lap at this stage, and then keeping the car tight to the right for the shortest run to the line. Just open, and it's a 24.7, which is a pretty strong lap, to be honest. Best lap of the weekend so far. We go ahead of both Alpines and behind Tsunoda and Sainz, and we're now going to send it for one more lap. So Schwartzman just drives past. He's going to start lap now. We're currently P12 behind Vettel and Tsunoda, ahead of Ocon and Stroll. Now the gap to safety is about half a second, so I don't think we're getting Q3, but we could get P11. So here we go, run down to turn 1, and then turn 2 hits you straight in the face afterwards. Turn 1 is just a bit of a lift, turn 2 going to brake quite a lot. We don't really trouble the apex too much, as we take a nice bit of exit speed into the S's, trying to get as close as possible to the inside curbs without upsetting the balance of the car or spinning out. Important to get the best possible exit out of this one here, the Dunlop curve, to carry the speed up the hill as we end sector 1. Into the two Degners, 7th gear for the first one, aggressive on those curbs, and then the second Degner, easy does it on the traction, very easy to get some wheel spin. Hairpin time, down to 3rd gear, try and use the camber to your advantage, smooth with the wheel rotation, don't go too aggressive, otherwise you'll have some issues on rear end stability. Then keep the car super tight all the way along this straight, into spoon, 50-meter board, down to 6th, and then down to 5th, and then down to 4th. For the final part, and then quickly back up to 5th and 6th on short shifts as we make our way towards the end of sector 2.
30 seconds left in the session.
And now just the final chicane remains, flat out through 130R as we try to carry the speed. I actually get a bit out of shape there, carrying a bit too much speed, braking at the 100, 3rd gear over the left curb there on the final bit, and then keep the car super tight to the right, even tighter than before, as we end the lap 3/10 up and setting a lap good enough for P11 at the time, as we pretty much maxed out the car performance besides 130R. At the end of Q2 we finished in P11, and to be fair, comfortably ahead of Vettel, Stroll and Russell, but still 4/10 to Carlos Sainz in P10, so I'll take that. That's a pretty decent result, to be fair. Schwartzman in the top 6, he was 7/10 quicker than me, and Verstappen getting through on mediums in the Red Bull, as Perez goes fastest of all. So there's your lot. There's your final Q2 standings, and we're now going to move into the race and see if we can fight back from P11 on the grid here at Honda's home Grand Prix.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Young superstar Max Verstappen starts from pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Norris, Yuki Tsunoda and Ricciardo, Leclerc, Sainz, Martinez and Sebastian Vettel, Stroll, Bottas, they've taken a grid penalty, George Russell and Ocon, Schwartzman, Giovinazzi, Nobuharu Matsushita and Nicholas Latifi, Lundgaard, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty, Mick Schumacher, Mazepin, they've taken a grid penalty, and Pierre Gasly picks up the final grid slot today. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
Now then, P9 for the race at Japan, and to be fair, it's not looking too bad. We've gained a bit from grid penalties, so we're starting a bit further ahead than usual. Having said that, we're going to go for a bit of a different strategy. The soft tyre, I just think is going to overheat like crazy in the first part of the race. The game says 2-stop, but I know for a fact a 1-stop is possible. So we're going to go for medium soft here today. I think that's going to be the best option for us. Fuel-wise, I'm going to go 0.5. Now, I'm going to make one adjustment on the car setup, and that is going to be my tyre pressures, which I'm thinking of going down a bit more, to be honest, just to try and avoid overheating. So this should do the trick, hopefully. We shouldn't have any big issues. We've gone quite low on those. And yeah, let's jump into the race. And fingers crossed, by the end of it, we've got some decent points. Okay, let's do this. It's going to be important to try and get a good start. 5 lights are on, and we're underway. Very quick 5 lights. Not the best start, but not the worst. It does look like everyone is on softs at the moment, from what I can tell. As we try to go side by side here with Sebastian Vettel. We managed to just get ahead of him into the S's, which is important. I also forgot to mention, I've gone +1 on the front wing as well. Bit of a last minute change. I wasn't sure, but I've gone for it just because we're on the mediums and I feel like we might need that extra bit of front end. So, decent start so far. Sebastian Vettel having a look into the Degner. We have to just run it a bit wide to avoid having contact with him. But this has been a decent start so far. I think if we can keep pace on this tyre, it could be a good race for us. I'm expecting to get dropped out of DRS range. Well, hopefully I'm proved wrong. Oh my god. Oh, that was scary. That's been the story of our weekend, by the way. The car is so on edge around here. But that's the risk we're taking, to try and find a bit of pace with the car, with the setup, and to fight for the championship. So yeah, end of lap 1. Seb Vettel putting quite a bit of pressure on here. He's keeping his overtake on, so we're going to have to keep ours on as we head through 130R. You saw in qualifying we had a bit of a moment into 130R. Just got to be very, very careful with the back end. I can't really commit, I'll be too aggressive. But we've held on, and we're still P9 after the first lap, and we're on mediums. Let's see how the race develops, but so far this is pretty much the best I could have hoped for.
DRS is being enabled this lap. We can use DRS when you are within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
DRS now enabled then. In theory, this is when the AI stop using their engine mode so much. Worth noting, Valtteri Bottas is one of the cars with a penalty, and he started behind us. He's now running in P11 and he's under recovery. Important that we try and stay ahead of him. You could say we're racing him here today. If I have the pace, which for now we seem to have just about. I'm trying to hang on to Sainz and stay within a second. It's working out okay so far. The issue is Sainz isn't keeping up with the cars ahead, I don't think, so we'll see how this one pans out, but very important to not lose DRS on this lap. Purple sector 3. It's definitely our strongest sector. It helps because we managed to get back within a second if we're a little bit far back, and it seems like we've got very good straight line speed as well, so we're in this race for sure. Okay, so we're chilling behind Carlos. I am tempted to maybe overtake him. I feel like the soft tyre is just starting to go off a little bit, and the medium coming into its own. And also the cars ahead, Leclerc and Ricciardo, are starting to get away, so I don't really want to see that happen. Personal best again. I do just feel like Sainz has enough for one more lap, so maybe next lap. Pretty close this time. I think we may be able to get the pass. on Carlos. He's running at a good pace, to be honest. But I want to try and pass him. Here we go. Lovely move. And we're through. Around the outside of turn 1. Let's try and close in on Ricciardo and Leclerc, who are battling, by the way, so we may be able to close the gap. Only one DRS zone, which will also help us out. Let's see what kind of pace we have in clean air. Okay, Leclerc and Ricciardo pit. So does Tsunoda in his home Grand Prix. Personal best from us.
Robert is in the pits. Robert in the pits.
So Robert Schwarzman pits. He also had a grid penalty. Let's keep pushing. So Verstappen out front sets a 26.0 and new fastest lap. Meanwhile, more cars in the pit lane. But we're going for hards, which is interesting. We set a purple sector 3. Hopefully the soft tire there might give us a chance to fire back against some of these hard runners. Verstappen staying out because he's on medium, which makes sense. 25.8 from Verstappen. That pace is incredible. Perez in the pit lane. We are running on 108 AI for this race, guys, by the way. Not sure if I would have mentioned in the build-up, but Perez in the pit lane, who's gone for medium. Bottas pits, and Vettel stays out for one more. I should have gone way less on the fuel, by the way. We are saving so much fuel. It's not even funny. I could have gone like 2 laps under. Tsunoda out for AlphaTauri. He was ahead of us on track, so that's going to be a net position that we gained, which is very good. Verstappen is doing fastest lap after fastest lap after fastest lap. It's unbelievable. That's 4 25.8s in a row now for Max. I'm just doing my own thing. We're about 2/10 off our PB every single lap, 2 or 3 tenths give or take. Just trying to keep that pace nice and consistent. I think Gasly is the other car that hasn't pit yet. I think he's also taken a grid penalty. Perez catching up behind on fresh mediums. But yeah, I think for this race, I think we're aiming for like a top 8 finish, to be honest. Gasly pits, which is a little bit earlier than I thought. Potential undercut. Also could be him just going for the hard tire. But it's still an undercut attempt. Yellow flag behind.
Green flag.
Not sure who that was. I didn't really catch it. But we'll get confirmation shortly who that was. It's Hamilton.
Some information on the Red Bull driver. Right, some information on Hamilton. It looks like the problem is terminal. They're retiring the car.
Well, I'm not sure what's happened there, but the radio seems to have bugged out. Some information on the Red Bull driver though. Not sure if that's legit or not. It's all gone a bit crazy, to be honest. I'm a little bit confused right now, but we'll take it. Let's keep driving. So we've got Sergio Perez behind us.
Be aware, there's an incident in the next part of the track. No overtaking through the yellow flags.
He sets a new fastest lap in the process.
We're approaching the pit window. You'll be on the softs.
Yep. Jeff, do you mind not interrupting me all the time so I can actually get my words out? Cheers. So Verstappen is pretty much a full pit stop ahead, but look at the delta, by the way, to Ricciardo. We are 20 seconds or 19 seconds clear of him. And then behind Ricciardo, there's a massive gap to the next Ferrari. So we could potentially rejoin P5 here once we stop. I've just got to try and get this pace up for a couple more laps. But we could be looking at a P5. Right, I'm going to let Sergio go here. I think it's probably for the best if we just follow him. We'll get DRS on the pit straight as well. And we'll get a nice little slipstream now for a good measure. Verstappen still hasn't pit yet, so if we can get Perez to be ahead of Max, that could be quite spicy, to be fair. But yeah, let's let Perez drive away. We'll just get a bit of DRS here and stick with him. Right, one more lap after this until we pit, lap 17.
Some information on the Red Bull driver, some information on Norris. They have an issue with their car. They're going to be slow.
That's great news. Wow, everyone's falling apart this race. Verstappen, though, finally pits. I had no chance of keeping up with Perez. He's so fast. I can't even get within DRS. I mean, there were 2.5 tenths off of my personal best, so that's pretty much as good as it gets for me. But yeah, let's see where Verstappen rejoins. Whether it's ahead of Perez or behind us. We get our first one for track limits there, taking a bit too much out of that final chicane. Across the line though, it's going to be a high 26.
We're boxing this lap. Give us the best in lap you can.
Well, Verstappen's long gone. Clear ahead. Right. In lap time, let's try and squeeze one more lap out. Right, we're getting a bit hot, 104. Got the soft tyres ready. Right, let's do this. We're going to box this lap. We're going to go back down on front wing as well. Back to what my qualifying front wing was. Just need to nail this pit entry. Easy does it. Tyres are starting to let go. Yes, lovely. Drifting in, but we've got it slowed down. Right, there's a gap between Ricciardo and I think Pierre Gasly, that is. It's going to be really close. We need a sub 2 second stop here. We're very close to that. 2.4. I'll tell you what though, I think it's enough. We're going to rejump behind Ricciardo here. It's going to be close, but I think we've got it.
Okay, stay clear of the white line on the exit. We'll receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross over into the track.
Yes, what a dub. What an overcut. We've made it work. You see this massive train of AI cars behind me. They're all battling amongst themselves. And I think they've lost a load of time. And we're now net P5 in this race. Lando's got car issues, by the way. Remember that. Let's see. I think a podium's a bit far, but you never know. Maybe possible. Pierre Gasly is super fast, by the way. He's matching my pace on hard tyres. But Lando is losing time here. Ricciardo is in the back of him now. We're on for a personal best. Let's see what our lap is. But Gasly is really on the pace. I think he may come back at us towards the end of the Grand Prix, because the hard tyre lasts forever around here. 26.0. Over a second off Verstappen's fastest lap. But let's see, Ricciardo's going to be stuck behind Norris here for the first sector. He hasn't passed him into turn 1. This is crucial. And here we go, Ricciardo making the pass on Norris. Let's see if we can benefit. We're not going to have DRS. They go side by side though through 130R. My goodness me, both McLarens going at it. Looks like Ricciardo will get ahead around the outside here. Yes, he does. Lando gets the short end of the stick. Let's try and get Norris here. Well, to be fair, Norris has DRS on Ricciardo. Let's see though, we can still pass Lando into turn 1 or turn 2. No, he's got issues with his car, so he's not going to be fully on the pace. I'll go through the S's maybe. Oh, Lando seems okay. Alright, let's try and pass Lando here. I think he will have DRS on Ricciardo, to be fair. And Gasly is closing up to us behind. But Lando doesn't seem that slow anymore. Here we go. Let's try and get this move done. It's going to be tricky. Straight line speed's very similar. Side by side into turn 1. There we go, we've done it. Let's try and stick with Ricciardo here. Possible podium up for grabs. Out of nothing this race. Okay, we've dropped Lando out of DRS range. Personal best on that lap. Hopefully Gasly gets stuck behind for a couple more. I'm going to wait and pass Ricciardo on this lap. Right, I can't lie, I'm struggling for pace, which means we need to try and pass Ricciardo, because I'm not sure how many more chances we're going to get, so it's important that we get the move done now. Here we go. Decent enough traction, but we are struggling. Feels like Lando's not that slow anymore. Do we have the straight line speed here to close up on Ricciardo? Yes, we do. Down the inside. And we're through. Had to commit, had to take that. Now we've just got to try and defend and keep Ricciardo behind for the rest of the race. And we can bring home a effing podium, in the words of Daniel himself. My rear tyres are getting a bit hot. I'm trying to push, but it's not happening. The rears just overheat straight away if I do. Got to try and be careful and manage them a little bit. Going to change the brake bias slightly towards the front to try and take some pressure off the rears. Maybe this way we can push a bit more. Well, Verstappen's already won the race. 46 seconds clear, and Perez 35 up the road as well. Meanwhile, we've got both McLarens and Gasly running full engine mode here to try and catch me up. Just got to make sure the exit is good out of there, which it is. Soft tyres holding on. Just got to drain the battery now all the way down to the chicane. Ricciardo closing, trying to get the run. There we go, we've got the gap. We can relax, it's going to be another podium. Back-to-back podiums, but we do lose out to Verstappen in the championship, which is not ideal. But still, we'll take it. I never thought we'd get that. Nice.
Thank you for all your hard work out there. That was a strong drive and a good finish. Well done.
Another action-packed Japanese Grand Prix comes to an end. And what a magnificent drive to take the win here today. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
But they certainly stood out as a drive with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sport that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
So there we go then, race results are in. Verstappen wins and fastest lap and pole, pretty much pure domination, and I think Grand Slam if I'm not mistaken. Perez P2, so 1-2 for Red Bull, we finish in P3, so decent podium, happy with that. Ricardo P4, Lando P5, Gasly, Bottas, Leclerc, Sainz and Vettel right at the points. Schwartzman only P11 unfortunately. The early stop onto the hard tire didn't really work, got stuck in the trainer cars and doesn't score any points today, along with Stroll, Russell, Ocon, Matsushita, Latifi, Giovinazzi, Lundgaard, Schumacher, Mazepin and then Hamilton and Tsunoda out of the race. So after 15 rounds the championship looks as follows. We're P4, we're now clear of Hamilton, which is really good after that DNF. We're 10 points behind Perez, again that's recoverable, and of course we outscored Bottas today, so that's all well and good, but unfortunately we lost out to Verstappen and the gap has grown by I believe 10 more points, which is a bit of a shame. Constructors wise though, a P3 and 100 points behind Mercedes, so I'm starting to think this is kind of where we're going to finish, to be honest, unfortunately. Not the season 3 that I hoped for. Anyway, let's go to upgrades and see what we can do moving forward. Well, after that race, it's going to be a big fat 5-0 to Lewis Hamilton, which means we actually take the lead in the rivalry, which is quite refreshing for a change, and a bit of a return to the old form, winning in Singapore, P3 today, leading in the rivalry. Feels good to actually have that for a change. Acclaim wise, no big changes, and finally we're moving to cash payouts, and after that race we should have all of our sponsors hit in principle, which we do, so that's good news. Now, do we have anything else to go with it in terms of bonuses? A couple, but not a hell of a lot. Still 40 grand extra, so we move into upgrades. Let's go. Now we're going to rattle through this. Unfortunately we can't do upgrades. I've already realised we don't have enough R&D points. I want to do some aero work, so we're just going to do activities for now and move on to the next race. So sim training for Schwartzman. To add to that, we're going to go for vehicle PR filming. It does affect departments, but we're not doing upgrades right now, so we should be okay. We'll go for a sponsor event as well to improve team morale, and I think that's going to be it. Let's see if the Y250 Vortex generators on the 16th arrive. And it's good news, the upgrade has indeed arrived, and that unlocks the final aerodynamic upgrade for the undernose turning vanes. So very happy with that, and we're looking pretty decent. It's just a little bit out of our price range right now, if I'm not mistaken, if we go and find it. 2,000 points, so we'll get that in the next episode. So yeah, that's going to be it for me today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. If you did, leave a like, subscribe for more, and as always, a big shout out to the members of the channel for supporting the content. Finally, check out the 2 videos on screen, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, take care, and it's goodbye from me.